Hello guys, and welcome back to the channel. Now guys, I am always reluctant to do a Sowore related video because every time I do a Sowore related video, there's always a heavy backlash from the Sowore followers. The Sowore followers are actually fanatical in their followership of Sowore, and they do not brook any criticism of the man. But as a social commentator, I cannot allow myself to be cowed by the backlash of fanatical followers of a political actor. So here we go again. I am doing another Sowore related video. So about a week or so ago, I did a video calling Sowore out, saying that he has been very silent since the election took place, and he was very vocal prior to the election, because before the election, you could never go anywhere or switch on any news platform without hearing Sowore prattling on and whittling on and lambasting and bombasting. But then since the election took place, the silence has been deafening from Omoyele Sowore. So I called him out on that video. So it seems as though that video might well have gotten to him, because he has now gone on Arise to go and speak to Dr. Abeto, or whatever it's called, and his sidekick, to respond to some of these videos that I and others have been putting out, calling him out to come and respond to what took place in the last election. So I'm going to play you a series of audios in this video to just bring you his own voice on what actually transpired, because the last election, as we all know, was heavily rigged, and Atiku, no less a figure, has gone to court to actually challenge this election. So now, if Atiku, somebody of Atiku's ilk, who is known for corruption, is actually saying this is too corrupt, then why then is Sowore then silent on this thing when he was so vocal prior to the election? These were some of the questions I was asking in my previous video, calling him out to come and take a position regarding what took place in the last election, because he was very vocal. I mean, in the last election, every interview you heard, he was calling them corrupt, antiquated, analog, etc., and he was saying that he was not going to yield and he was going to fight it tooth and nail. And then the election took place, or his election rather took place, because there was no election and votes were allocated, and the way the votes were allocated was so glaringly rigged that you would have expected then Sowore to be bouncing off the walls and screaming and shouting, but he has been silent rather, and the silence has been deafening. So I called him out, and it looks as though he's now responding to this call out. So listen to this.
Well, you want to ask if there was an election in which, or if there was a collation process in which they allocated votes to themselves. And I can say to you categorically, as a candidate, that I didn't experience what could be remotely referred to as an election. You can't call what happened on February 23rd an election. It was just an act of aggression against Nigerian people by very well-known political operators in the system. That is why I said earlier that we have to do something drastic about Nigeria, so that the definition of democracy and the processes of democracy will be something that we can actually attest to in our own institutional life here. What happened in February is not democracy. It's nothing near a democratic process. It was, yeah.
So there you heard Sowore rejecting the elections. I mean, the wordings were almost the exact same wordings that I used in my video as well to call the election a sham. I think everybody of any right thinking is really of the view that that election was a sham, and it was so badly handled all the way through, postponing the elections about 3-4 hours before the votes were actually meant to be cast. I mean, that's just unthinkable. Then telling us that the results were not transmitted electronically but brought in manually. That's almost unfathomable. And then telling us that there's like 800,000 votes coming out of Borno, a war zone. This is beyond belief, and all of the nonsense that we've seen all the way through, telling us that a restive state like the eastern states of Nigeria, where people are verilously anti-Buhari, their voter percentage turnout was less than a war zone like Borno, where people are dodging bullets. So they dodged bullets to come and vote for Buhari. This is what they are telling us. So their votes were up by about 80%, and the vote in the eastern part of Nigeria, where they're anti-Buhari, their votes were down by about 40 to 60%. So all of these shenanigans, they could not carry electoral materials to the polling booths, even though about 160 billion naira had been given to them to run these elections. I mean, the whole thing was a sham all the way through, and then the president is going out to tell the security operatives to be ruthless with Nigeria. So all of these things happened, and then you'd expect Sowore to be vocal, but it took his time to come out to actually make this statement. Now, a lot of people were saying, what do you want from him? He had to rest now, blah, blah, blah. Well, Sowore is always harping on about how he's a young man, and now how Nigeria needs a young person. So if Atiku in his 70 is still fighting all the way through, then what energy then does Atiku at 70 have that Sowore at 47, 48 is missing? So this is really where all the questions are, and these were the questions that I was asking in that video when I called him out to say, look, dude, your silence is deafening, and the silence that you're living is going to be filled in by conspiracy theories, and some of the conspiracy theories are some of the things that I am saying on this channel, because you would recall that there was speculation that Sowore actually took 3 billion naira from Tinubu. This were all of the things that were being put in to fill in that gap of the silence that Sowore had created, because he was so vocal and so verbal and so punchy in his build up to the election, and you expect him to fight all the way through. You don't give up at the first battle, and the first battle is not the war. You win a battle, you lose a battle, you win a battle, and then you lose a battle, but then your main objective is to win the main war. So if you then lose the first battle, and then you pack your bags and go back to America to be eating hamburger or whatever and playing basketball, then really what was the purpose of the whole exercise and all of the monies and hopes that people vested in you? So these were the questions that I was asking, and I think those questions, that video that I put out, had forced him out to then go on national TV in Nigeria to go and take a position regarding what actually transpired in that election, because he needs to take a position, because he has now ignited something within the Nigerian consciousness, which is not something that should not be dampened. It would be highly irresponsible of Sowore, having started this movement and having excited the minds of a lot of Nigerians, to then pack his bags and run away and go and hide in America, which is what he apparently seemed to have done after the elections, because you expected him to be the first one in court. He's saying he doesn't have the funds to fight it in the courts, and he doesn't have any faith in the judicial system. Well, you don't really need funds to fight it in court, because I'm pretty sure that there are countless lawyers of good repute that will do this for free, because they also want to be aligned with that type of mindset, that paradigm shift in the Nigerian consciousness, where good is now trying to triumph over evil, and Sowore then signaling himself as the beacon for the good that is to emerge from Nigeria. So there's a lot of Femi Falana, for instance, would happily give his services to Sowore for free, and there are countless lawyers that would happily give their services to Sowore for free. So him now saying that I don't have the funds to fight a battle with these people in court, and saying that he doesn't believe in the judicial system. Well, Adeleke, no less a person, Ademola Adeleke, the guy that they even say doesn't have a school cert, well, he has enough faith in the system to go to the tribunal and fight his case, because the elections that he won and was then allocated to somebody else was so glaringly rigged that it's almost impossible not to fight that case. And this also applies to the presidency as well. The way that presidential election was run was so glaringly rigged that it is almost a crime against the Nigerian person for you then to just pack your bags and run, which is effectively what Sowore seemed to be wanting to do. But some of us, the social commentators, are not going to allow him that space to cut and run, because he wasn't invited to come and take the position that he took for the elections. So he came of free will to come and excite this thing within the Nigerian person, now that he has built up that hope within the Nigerian person, it is now his responsibility to bring that hope to fruition. And a lot of us, the social commentators, would ensure that he does that. We will hold him to task, we will put his foot to the fire, and we will make him accountable, because he has that responsibility to make good of this. Because the time as well that he took to come out was too long a gap. Taking a week off is taking a week off. Taking 10 days off is taking 10 days off. Even Malam Buhari is only now going on holiday. We all know what this holiday means. It's a medical trip to London. Only now going to holiday after a very grueling electoral session, electoral process, electoral campaign. And this is a man in his 80s, nearly double, almost certainly double Sowore's age. So if a man double your age is fighting all the way through, then what really is the reason for you to go in hibernation to say that, oh, blah, blah, blah? We are not interested in, oh, blah, blah, blah. Finish what you started. You are saying you are punchy, that you've been at this thing since your days at Unilag. Every time you roll out all the things that you did at Unilag, how you fought the courts to a standstill, how you single-handedly defeated Abacha and forced democracy and forced the military out, how you did this, that, and the other. You aligned your name with the names of people like Fela Kuti and Samuel Doe of Liberia, etc. So you want that left of center alignment, and it's actually not even left of center alignment, because ideologically Sowore is a very left-wing politician in terms of the ideological divide of politics. So if you are positioning yourself then in the left wing, in the further left, maybe not far left, but in the further left of the ideological divide of the political ideological stance, then you have to be very, very vocal and very punchy. You know, Fela never gave up until his dying day. Who gave up? Femi Fani Kayode never gave up. Fawehinmi never gave up. So why are you now giving up? Why are you cutting and running? Because it seemed as though, I'm not accusing him of cutting and running, by the way, because I know his followers are already at their keyboard typing abuse in my comment section even before the video runs out. So I am not accusing him of cutting and running, but I'm saying that the time that he took to come back into the public space was too long, and that vacuum that he created was then has now allowed rather for mischief makers to impute and infuse their own conspiracy theories into that space. So they are calling him now a Tinubu agent. They are saying now he was self-interest. They are now querying the spend of the money that he got from GoFundMe, etc. And they are now querying everything. He did another thing on the Rivers State election as well, which I'm going to do in a separate video, because I don't want this video to run for far too long. But I am just now doing this video now as a response to his response to my video where I called him out, because I'm pretty certain he would have seen my video that the people are now starting to query him. So I'm not claiming that I single-handedly forced him out into the public space, but my voice is one of the voices that have now forced him out of hibernation into the public space. So you've heard what Sowore has to say in his response to what happened in the elections. He's called it as a sham, which is what everybody effectively thinks it. In fact, it is known. I don't even want to say what people think it is. It is known that it is a sham. So it is a sham, and it is a sham. So what next are you going to do about it? He's saying something drastic has to happen. So what exactly is that drastic thing? So a lot of questions still out there, and these questions have been put to Omoyele Sowore. So what is your conversation around this? Come have a chat with me around this response that Sowore has given to the elections and the criticism that he has been getting. Come have that conversation with me in the comment section. But before you come have that conversation with me in the comment section, click on the red subscribe button so it goes gray. Click on the bell button as well so you are notified every time I drop a new video. Then come have this chat with me in the comment section. So I'll leave you here, meet you in the comment section, but here I say peace.